New this morning, Sri Lanka's prime minister has agreed to resign. That announcement coming after demonstrators broke into the official home of Sri Lanka's president, calling for him to resign over the country's worsening economic crisis. Officials say more than 100,000 protesters surrounded that building with video showing people breaking through police barriers and, as you see there, swimming in the residents' pool. Let's go now to CNN's Vidika Sood, who is live in New Delhi. Vidika, do we know where the president is? Do we know if he's safe?
Jessica, we don't know where the president of Sri Lanka is at the moment. That is news that the officials are not ready to give out at this point in time. But what we do know, Jessica, is that he wasn't at the presidential palace when more than 100,000 of these protesters who had converged outside the presidential palace and the secretariat stormed into his residence. You've seen those visuals. These are unprecedented protests we're seeing. People from all over Sri Lanka converged Saturday morning, and they have been protesting against the president of Sri Lanka, Gotabaya Rajapaksa. They want him out. They blame him and his family for the economic mismanagement of the country, because of which there is a massive crunch when it comes to foreign exchange reserves. There's a massive crunch when it comes to fuel. There's a massive crunch when it comes to food and power. There are power cuts which go on for about 5 hours a day. There have been these serpentine lines of people standing just for a few liters of fuel that hasn't been coming their way, because that is now limited just for essential services. We do know over a dozen people have died over the last few months waiting in those lines for fuel. Now what you're seeing inside the palace is a complete takeover by these people. They're very clear. There's this very, very popular chant against Gotabaya Rajapaksa, asking him to go. And they say, "Go, Gota, go," in that chant. And you can hear that reverberating through Colombo at this point in time. The police, they tried to control the crowds. They did fire tear gas, but that crowd was just so massive, Boris and Jessica, that it was very difficult really to push back, because of which they broke the barricades. They entered the presidential palace, and like you said, they even took a dip in the pool. So as of now, what we do know is that the inflation is over 54%. The fear is that this could go over 70% in the days and months to come. There is a political crisis, and these protesters are very clear. Enough is enough. We've seen more than we can. We need to survive the crisis. You're just pinning us down economically, and we won't have this anymore. And yes, Sri Lanka is in talks with the International Monetary Fund, but first they really need to get a debt restructuring program in order to get a bailout package from the IMF. But this political uncertainty, even with the Prime Minister offering to resign, is going to be making it even more difficult for the IMF really to cough up a bailout package for Sri Lanka. Jessica and Boris.
Wow, just incredible images. Vidika Sood live for us. Thanks so much for that reporting.